Hi, my name is Kimberly with Zeedman Development. Today I want to show you how you can email your organisational email addresses using Chimpegration. If you'd prefer to email your relationships from your organisations, then there's a separate video for that. But today we want to look at using the email address that's on the organisation record. So the first thing we're going to need to do is create a query, and I'll show you what I've got set up here. So I've set up my criteria to pull the appropriate organisations. And then any fields that I want to push over to MailChimp, I include in the output of that query. So I've got the constituent ID, the organisation name, the email address, and the key indicator. And the key indicator just shows me if it's an organisational address or an individual address. So this is going to show me all of the records that I want to add to my export. So let's save that query. So we open up the plugin. And the first thing we want to do is export these contacts to my audience. So the first thing I need to do is select my audience. And I've got one here called Export Demo. So we're going to use that one. I'm going to choose my query to export from. I'm going to choose that one we just took a look at. I can add people to groups or tags as I ordinarily would. So I'm going to add an existing tag. If you've got GDPR preferences, you'll need to select one of those. We can then either just add new emails or add new emails and update the existing values. And then we need to have a look at our mapping. So here we can see the output fields from my query on the left, the MailChimp merge variables available in the middle, and I just double click to match those. And before we run that, let's take a quick look at our query, our audience, sorry. So we've currently got this audience with no subscribers in it. So this is where we're going to add our contacts. Let's go back to Razor's Edge and say run now. So we're going to export 4 people into that audience. If we go and take a look in MailChimp now, if we refresh, so we can now see we've added these 4 records. So for the individual record, we've got the first name and the last name. We've got the constituent ID for everyone. And for the organisations, we've got the organisation name. And the key indicator here shows us if they're an organisational record or an individual record. So now that we've got those people in MailChimp, we can send them an email. And once we've sent our email out, we can then bring the results back into Razor's Edge. So we can do that using the Manage Campaigns function. So if we go into the Manage Campaigns area of Chimpegration, we can select our campaign. I'm going to get everybody sent, but obviously you can choose from any of these different areas as well. I'm going to create a control report, and that just shows us any errors that there might be during the process. And I want to create a query of my updated constituents as well. We can either match on email address or constituent ID. As I've got the constituent ID, I'm going to match on that. And then I can choose the process. And obviously some of these will be more relevant than others, depending on what data you're bringing over. So for example, if you're bringing over your unsubscribes, then you might want to add a consent record or mark as request no email. And bear in mind that some of these, when working with organisational records, might not be available. However, what I want to do is add an action for my organisational records. And I can fill this out as a global ad exactly as I ordinarily would. Save that, and then I can include the open and click history as action attributes as well. So let's run that. And now let's go and take a look at those records. So if we find my query, we can see I've got the 4 records that are updated. So let's take a look at one of the organisational records. So if we go to the Actions tab, we can see the action I've added here. We can see all the information I put in. If we take a look at the attributes, we can see we've got the date the email was opened, and we've got the campaign ID here as well. We've also got a notepad that shows the name of the Chimpegration email, so it's very easy to see what that refers to. If we take a look at another one, we can see on this action, we've got the opens, and we've also got a link that was clicked on here as well. So that's how easy it is to bring your campaign information back onto organisational records or individual records. Let's also take a quick look at the synchronization between Razor's Edge and MailChimp. This just means that when people make changes to an organisational record on Razor's Edge, you can push those out into the MailChimp audience, or if you allow people to make changes to their organisational record in MailChimp, you can bring those changes back into Razor's Edge. So we'll run the synchronization. We select our audience. We're going to create a control report, again, to show us any errors. We select a query of constituents to synchronize with. So we've got that one we set up there. And we can also synchronize a small segment as well. So if you just wanted to synchronize your organizational records, you could set those up as a segment in MailChimp and just pull those over. And we can create a query of created and updated constituents as well. The mapping works in a very similar way to what we saw before, but we've got the full Razor's Edge tree here now. So we just need to select the appropriate field. So once you've filled out all the fields that you want to synchronize, we can also synchronize groups with our various different areas of Razor's Edge. You can see here that we've got constituent codes, solicit codes, attributes or consent records. We're going to ignore those for now. Then we've got some settings to make sure that the data we're bringing in is being created and updated in line with our Razor's Edge rules. And then we can run it. So let's take a look. Now, before any data is committed, we'll be able to review it on the next screen. And we can see here that on the review screen, we've got the Razor's Edge data on the left, the MailChimp data on the right, and the action to take down the center shows us the direction of data flow. Now, you can see the organizational record here. We can click on the link to open the record in Razor's Edge, or on the link under MailChimp to open the MailChimp record. The action to take here is a conflict, which means I need to make a decision about the direction of data flow. So we can see we've got a different email address in Razor's Edge to what we've got in MailChimp. So we just need to determine the direction we want that data to flow. And here again, we've got a conflict. So we can see that the name is slightly different. Here we've got the Legitimate Businessman's Club, and here we've got an apostrophe and PLC. So if we want to update Razor's Edge, then we can do that way. And then we can say process, save my query. And we can see we've got an updated Razor's Edge record, an updated MailChimp record. So it's very easy to work with your organizational records. Just bear in mind that we are here working, as I said at the beginning, with one email address on an organizational record. If you've got multiple email addresses on that record, then you can still obviously export them, but you may have problems bringing in the managed campaign results, as you might duplicate those actions. And with the synchronizing the constituent data, then you're going to have problems because the constituent ID will match. So in line with all other areas of MailChimp, we recommend following their best practice that you should only be using one contact for each organization. I hope that's helpful. Thanks for listening.